What's going on, workforce? Brian here.
Chris here.
And today we're diving into Live Letter 63 summary, giving you guys our thoughts, but overall, just trying to get you the information on what you need to know for patch 5.5, the PlayStation open beta test, and so much more. If you're new here or you've never done it so before, be sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, or maybe if you feel like it and we deserve it, maybe, I don't know, tickle that dislike button. It's really up to you. Choice is yours, but thanks for being here. We're filming this live over on twitch.tv. You can Chris there, 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, Monday through Friday. Chris, this was a big one. There's a lot of really good stuff here.
Really big. For
And-
part two,
yeah.
I'm shocked at how big some of this was.
And there's also, just considering how big this was, they went above and beyond to prevent spoilers. And so a lot of what we even see in the trailer, which is what they open up with, you can go check it out for yourselves. We might do kind of a more in-depth discussion about that in a future video, so be sure to hit subscribe. We're on our goal for 100K subscribers here on YouTube, so we're marching ever towards it. Thanks for being there and a part of this journey with us. But yeah, like... Spoiler, no spoilers. Like, that's essentially what they were going for. Like, everything that we've seen in this live letter is all about protecting what we're going to see. And so that's what I'm saying, like, how big this was, considering how much they actually showed us versus, like, they're like, what's happening? We don't know. So let's go ahead and dive in. Chris, why don't you take us through it? We've got so much to talk about. What's the date, just in case anybody hasn't seen that information so far?
Yeah, so they opened up with the trailer, which you can, of course, watch in any of the 5 languages over on YouTube. And I'm being very excited that they passed 22 million players. So they were just 20 million last July. So that's a big move forward pretty quickly. This is Death Unto Dawn patch 5.5, the final patch of Shadowbringers. It will be coming, part 1 of it will be coming on April 13th. Part 2 will be coming after FanFest, which is May 15th and 16th at the end of May. We assume the last Tuesday.
Which would be May 25th.
The 25th. And so that's our best guess. And so that's a big deal. Part 1 and part 2 will have story. So this is our big finale for Shadowbringers, which of course will take us into Endwalker 6.0, which has promised to be like a story wrap up for many things from 2.0 to that point, with 6.1 beginning our story anew with that metaphor of the sun rising and falling and a dawn anew, describing kind of the different expansions at the various points in that cycle. So this goes over things for both patch 5.5 and patch 5.55, the half patch. We will get another live letter at FanFest addressing just 5.5.5.5.5 on day 2 of FanFest. So they have said this looks like spoilers, but like you'll kind of think you know what this is something that in hindsight will go, oh, that was so spoilery, but like really I just have more questions than answers.
Yeah. And they also do a lot of interesting tricks with editing of the trailer. So you might be thinking like, hey, did they just show us who's the pilot of the ultimate weapon? But it could easily be clever editing at the end of the day. So just note that, like, just because you see it in the trailer itself, it's generally set to make hype, to make it something exciting for us to pull into. So let's start. I've got the translation up here on screen. So where do we want to start first?
So I think naturally these things start off by talking about what comes in the patch. What do we expect? This is a lot of what was in part 1. If you already did that, this is the fact that there's going to be an MSQ and a reminder that is split across part 1 and part 2. We will be going into the new instance called Pagelthan, however you pronounce that. That will be a story dungeon, which of course means it'll have trust support. And then we'll be going into the final chapter of Sorrows of Warlit with Diamond Weapon. The translation roughly came across, instead of to destroy a ruby weapon, is to capture a diamond weapon. So we don't know exactly what that's going to mean, but they've kind of screwed with us there. They'll go over each of these segments in a little more detail in a minute. But you know, kind of, it is feeling like the end of Stormblood. It is feeling like the sun is setting on this stuff, and there's some tension building, but a little bit bigger than Stormblood.
We're also getting the Yahora Dark Apocalypse Chapter 3. So they actually talk about the instance. They go into the instance, so we'll see some screenshots of that later here in this video. And he actually skips over things. He shows off the first boss, but he completely, like, just to protect, because he says that even in the instance there are spoilers on the way to the boss. So just note that that's going to be coming up later in this video itself. But again, it's protected, so you should be good to go. We covered the cloud deck and that. So going on to our next slide, we actually are getting job adjustments, which he said there are no nerfs only buffs, and he mentioned like warrior, which is Chris is excited about a 1 to 2% adjustment, but didn't go into too much detail with warrior, dragoon, things like that. So obviously we'll wait till part 2 of the patch notes on typically as the servers go down, but nothing I think to worry about if you're concerned. And so we do know no nerfs are coming in. Anything else, Chris, that we got here on this slide?
No, from there, we're going to be going into crafter and gatherer updates. So for people that have been following this expansion, they made the entry to these professions, these jobs, much easier, and then they've kind of put the challenge on the back end with these expert recipes.
Mm-hmm.
And then maps opened via the gathering log will indicate the area where the gathering points are going to appear. And so that will hopefully make that a little bit easier. And then the listing of your fish to release will be added as well, just making those UIs just a little bit nicer to deal with. Expert recipes are, of course, in theory, that point where you move past what's macroable. That's the theory behind it. In actuality, if you gear it hard enough and stuff, that changes a little for those of you that have gotten there. And so keep in mind that we'll also be talking about the Ishgard restoration update. And so for everybody that followed this expansion where we rebuilt the city of Ishgard in the firmament, we actually will now be holding periodic celebrations in honor of this, and we'll get a new custom delivery client, Charlemagne. If you have not done the current delivery client and the firmament, that has a mount locked behind it and a story, and I encourage you to go enjoy those. The restoration, this is a chance to kind of relive that event. As we built it, there were things going on and all of that, and it's kind of a bummer for everybody who missed that. And so this is a way of kind of letting that continue to live as content, because there are, I think, 5 unique mounts locked behind that as well, plus the pterodactyl mount, or maybe that's including, it's a lot.
There's a lot of mounts. And so, and then after that, they'll go into more detail about the fets here in a second, or the fets, like pets, fetes, the fates for gatherers and crafters, but Triple Trident updates are coming, so they're going to be adjusting the use of 4-star cards and decks. The acquisition rate is going to be adjusted. The rewards for being added to obtain, there's going to add a reward if you get all of the Triple Triad cards as of patch 5.55. They're updating the Explorer mode. They're adding more duties to level 70. Level sync and item level sync are going to be disabled, and instruments can be used in Explorer mode. Some nice just quality of life adjustments there as well.
Keep in mind that this is there's also going to be some small updates around things. I mean, ocean fishing in general is already a big piece of content. Triple Triad cards are already a big piece of content. So just kind of continuing to keep those systems relevant as we go into a patch cycle that will be longer than a typical patch cycle as we build towards Endwalker in the fall. We'll get that date, the official release date, May 15th, 16th, during that FanFest event. When pre-orders, they tell us how that's going to open and what platforms are available. It'd be cool if they added another one. And a new mount for obtaining all of the mounts from the SHB fights. We already know that that's the dragon kind of they showed that off in part 1, so it's this like mechanical dragon. They did show them and flying that during the gameplay portion. So there was really cool stuff there. There was a new instrument planned for the patch 5.5, but they had to delay it, much like Ultimate. And so they were sorry about that, but they do plan to release that later. And then they said that there was something they originally put in the Mog Station that's going to be in the Gold Saucer, tradable for MGP instead, possibly a Regalia. So that was the Final Fantasy XV 4-seater car event that was limited time. Maybe sometime in the future that would become available again. So keep an eye out for that. That is the only multi-person mount that's been available in game for non-Savage content, for not spending money. So that's, to my knowledge, I think that might be the only one. And it's a 4-seater, and so that's a neat way to kind of get to do that. And then other just miscellaneous updates, new indicator bonuses while ocean fishing, the new instrument added to the performance feature being delayed. Just make sure I'm not missing anything here. Hotbar slots can now, this is amazing. Hotbar slots can now be saved when editing an active set of Blue Mage actions. So for those of you that have multiple Blue Mage sets, but then you have to swap the things out on your hotbar, what a godsend.
Yeah, huge.
It's huge. It's huge. It will be possible to accept new achievement rewards from inside the achievement pane. He actually showed that off. You'll be able to just accept it from inside the achievement pane, which of course is going to partially put our man in Gridania out of a job, but they said he'll still be in charge of veteran rewards. Those of you that know that he's locked back there by that waterfall that we're all about to forget, if you've gotten all your veteran awards and can now just accept things from the UI.
Yeah, and they also talk about indicators about like positionals. So they say obviously here for the Ultima fight that you're not going to like. There's no positionals for this fight, so you can kind of see an updated targeting ring right here. But and if I scroll down just briefly to highlight the example of what it looks like when actually targeting from the side, I'm trying to find a real good image here. Okay, we'll just probably use this one as best we can. There's going to be an arrow that so you know which way he is facing. So if you're like a monk, if you're like having to do positionals and you're on the side, it's going to make it a little bit easier to understand that he is facing this direction, and on the sides you can see which direction he is facing as well. So from a positional perspective, I think that's a huge help. Anyway, I want to point that out because I think that's pretty exciting because it was covered under the miscellaneous tab as well.
Yeah. They also covered collision detection being updated. As we move into supporting a PS5 version of the game, you're now talking about people considering running the game at higher resolutions, higher frame rates. And so anything that already could get kind of glitchy with the way a server and a client communicate to decide what your actual character's location is, that's being updated as well. So that will allow the platform to future-proof Final Fantasy XIV so that they can support the game for a long time. So that's just a continued reminder that this game isn't going anywhere. Just because the story's wrapping up in 6.0 does not mean this game is coming to a close. They are making big updates that will future-proof the long-term health of this game. So I think that's really exciting. And then they said that may break some things, such as people who have used the current way that stuff works to make housing items float because of the way they worked with the existing collision. So if any of that is broken, let them know so they can try to reverse just those things. But that helps us with things like latency and a lot of that. So, but frame rates really screw with that. So that'll be a big thing there. They tried to show off 4K in the stream later, but like they're showing a 4K TV being recorded by their camera on their 720 broadcast, which we were rebroadcasting in 1080p, which means somewhere in there it's 720p or less is what you're actually. So it's hard to see exactly, but it is exciting to see the game move forward.
Yeah, and so it's exciting to see that, and it was funny because Chad ended up making a comment about how clean Yoshi P's skin looked, and he's like, that's not really the point because they had him zoom in, but at the end of the day, they did show the PS5 client up and running, and they were showing off the detail of the new icons and more. But yes, it was definitely like, yep, different conversions in quality. So don't take what you see on that stream as an accurate representation of how it's going to look on PS5. So I think that's awesome and funny and more. And then they're also adding a search feature for the emotes. So we've gotten enough emotes at this point, so they're adding a search feature. So I'm very excited to see that as well. Oh, we're just kind of we're in the same spot. I was just showing off the images of the PlayStation 5. Go ahead.
So, Ishgard Restoration. Ishgard Restoration had basically fates that you took part of, and as you did these fates, they were these crafting gathering fates. Those are going to come back under celebrations. Those are going to be every 2 hours, kind of like fishing raids, the ocean fishing. They'll be every 2 hours for a 24-hour duration. With roughly a 2-day interval in between to kind of let that demand ideally build back up, I'm sure. And those will have rewards behind that. They'll have presents. They showed off a screenshot of like some giant Moogles. They said there will be fireworks that the visual effects team was really excited about. So that's all really exciting. As we get to the PS5 version, which we're kind of, excited about. This is going to be 4K compatible, high-res, new UI. It will take advantage of the DualSense haptic feedback. There's going to be additional PS5 trophies added, the 3D audio support. The load times are insanely fast. He showed those off on stream. Obviously, he was on his 6.0 character for the PS5. We could see it because he was level 80 and his experience wasn't capped. And so he was teleporting like in and out of Limsa and stuff. There weren't people around, so we don't know. He said dungeons will go slower than what he showed, but he teleported between a few zones, and it was really, really fast. He also, in the process, showed off a new minion of a little fireplace that would be like the pink cushion. So that'll be, and that's when he showed off the search feature for emotes, because we've gotten to the point where there are a lot of emotes in game. So in general, I think the PS5 version is going to be exciting. That open beta does launch on April 13th, and then as soon as it's stable, they'll move to having the PS5 version be there. Do not worry, you PS4 people. When we moved to the PS4 version, there was a free upgrade for PS3 players who had PS4s, but PS3 was continued to support for a long time until that platform eventually was dropped as it aged out more naturally. So for people who either can't get a hold of a PS5 or don't intend to get a hold of a PS5 anytime soon, don't worry about your PS4 support. This is just additional support for the community. And then for anybody on PC, a lot of these things are actually going to be coming to PC as well. A lot of these changes. So the top end PC specs will be expanding, but the bottom end is going to stay where it is for now.
Yeah, and that's exciting to see that PC is also getting benefits from those load times and the improvements that PS5 is getting. So that's honestly it's really great. So more resolution supported, and so everybody's going to get to take advantage of that. So are we ready to talk about the thing that we got most excited about?
My gosh. So with the PS5 client version, he started getting on mounts. So he got on the new mount for getting all of the Savage mounts first.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Showed off the diamond weapon mount.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. And he was messing around on the ground. Then he got on a scree that was shooting gold coins out of it. And then he got on a Namitsu mount shooting gold coins out of it. And he said that they have been working on adding a new category of mounts, and those two are from the new category. You will be buying these with Gil.
Yes. Gil has a purpose again. And I know that there are people out there who feel like Gil has a purpose, but for veteran players, for players who just like, I just sit around with Gil and I don't have anything that needs it. So this, and he says that there might be a few players that can afford both of the mounts that he showed off currently.
Because these are going to be expensive. Very expensive. He said, I do not mean 1 or 2 million expensive. These are expensive. So for people who have been saying there is no use for Gil, we have heard you. Here you go. The prices will vary between the mounts, but maybe there are people who can even afford both of these. They are just not more. It is much more than just 1 or 2 million. They have not mentioned the prices. Yeah. So for those of you that haven't tried to get a house or already got a house, and you're like, you know what, but I have 10 million, 20 million, 50 million, a number where, like, honestly, if you've been in the game for a while, you start to run out of things. This is a reason that, like, what if these are 100 million?
Mm-hmm.
This is nuts. This being up, we had been up a long time covering this at this point. I'd already been awake for several hours and was tired. This got me excited. I think it got people excited in chat, people who have been up all night waiting for this event, my fellow Insomniacs out there. And so this was a very exciting announcement. This is big.
All right. So we had that we were excited about. They went back into more of the PS5 stuff. Went back into also showing more positionals, so that we kind of covered and jumped to briefly at the start of this, something that I'm actually just really excited to see. And yeah, so then we got into kind of very short regarding their, with the left screen of the arrow. I'll let you pick up, Chris, because I'm seeing a short link on this job adjustment summary that they're talking about. Overhaul the number of adjustments, buffs to both Warrior and Dragoon. That they kind of felt less insufficient, and all major changes will be for 6.0, which makes sense. They're not going to do major overhauls to jobs when the expansion is going to overhaul all the jobs in the first place.
Especially because we're getting a stat squish, so it's going to feel drastically different, even if there weren't changes. But for the PS5 version, just to kind of finish that up, your current PS4 players, you'll be downloading a PS5 Upgrade Edition when that goes live. New players will be downloading the PS5 version of the free trial. So details, of course, will be posted to the Lodestone. For any of you that jump between versions and you've never jumped platforms before, because you'll effectively be jumping platforms, be sure you save your HUD and all your settings to the server from your PS4 version, and you can do that on PS5. I actually use that. I've used that in the past to jump from PlayStation to Mac to PC as I've jumped around, because I've played on all 3 versions across Shadowbringers. Works fairly well. It warns you that it may be lost. I personally have never had an issue. I know some people have. It's good to save that kind of frequently. The biggest issue for me is that it runs into gear set issues, because as I get new loot, that'll continue to upload, but that's easy because we have a recommended button.
Okay.
So he will say it again. These mounts are expensive. So loading time will be sped up on all platforms. An option to use high resolution UI will be added to the Windows version. They are, for the first time since 2.0, changing the target icon, as Brian mentioned earlier, which will help us better know which direction things are facing, regardless of where you're standing on the model.
Absolutely. All right. So go ahead.
That was part one.
Part two time.
Time.
So this is where they start to jump into the Tower of the Paradigm breach. This is the new Alliance Yahora raid. And so kind of showing off some screenshots that won't spoil anything. It's very interesting visually. Obviously, you're going to get a vibe from the trailer itself. And you can see him running around as his little black
When
mage.
do we get these? 5.5 or 5.55?
The Yahora is 5.5. Like, that is on day and date. And then the Boja updates, which we'll cover here in a second, will be at 5.55 in this regards. So just kind of I'm just highlighting these screenshots as I continue to kind of scroll down the list here. Lots of really cool stuff. But now let's go ahead and jump into him showing off what people called salad fingers on stream today. Lots of fun things talking about the visual aspect of this boss fight. You can obviously fall off the edge here as well, which he demonstrated. And then moving forward from there, showing off the various gear rewards that you can see that you can get from the new Alliance raid. Some really well-designed stuff. I love that cape and that cloak that they've got rocking and rolling. I'm assuming for a healer, but you never know. Like, that's just fantastic. Some really.
He said
cool...
no comment for the gear. So
what's up?
No comment. They specifically did not comment on which role was which.
Yeah.
They said it would also be easier to obtain special items such as minions from the first two Alliance raids. And people were excited about the music. So always something good. They're always great with sound, especially this expansion. So good to see them continue to do that. Crossover events are a particularly interesting time to see them get to flex their ability to integrate music into 14. They said that some of the mechanics are crazy. Please do your best. Please enjoy everything else when the Alliance raid goes live. Now let's talk about Unreal Trial. Which one of you did right?
Leviathan. I'm excited to see people attack this in and of itself. Says that they were also trying to remember what the patch title was for this, kind of going back in through the Maelstrom. Patch 2.2 is when Leviathan was added. So hopefully you guys enjoy trying to attack Leviathan. So the ultimate trial gets switched out from Titan to Leviathan on the 13th. So if you haven't done Titan and you want to give it a shot, go and give it a shot. And now we go into Leviathan, and then we go into.
It'd be hard. They did not get a clear in their first. When Yoshi P went in with some of his team, they did not get a clear in their first lockout.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and now we've got Save the Queen updates. Let's go ahead and walk through this, Chris. Oh man, like the zone does look much better.
much brighter. They talked about this in our interview that we just covered, that the zone would be brighter. And so this is our new area, Zadnor. And so this will be on the sunken plateaus of Zadnor. This is where the 4th Legion will make its stand, being the climax of our Bojin Southern Front relic content for this expansion. The unlock requirements for this is that you have cleared 5.4's main scenario and the 5.45 Save the Queen story completion. You will not have to have rank 15, but unfortunately to get through the 5.45, you're going to have rank 10. So that'll be the requirement. This will move us into the next chapter and final chapter of Save the Queen, upping our resistance rank cap to 25. There will be new skirmishes and critical engagements, of course. There will be new Dalrida, a new large-scale assault with a maximum of 48 players. And then there will be elements of progression beyond rank 25 available if you want to hit what they said crazy numbers of damage. And so they said that you will be able to progress through this if you would like before ever attempting Delibram Savage. Delibram Savage will remain the highest difficulty content with Save the Queen. So Zadnor will be introduced. This is our half patch, 5.55. And so that will be a chance to kind of go through that for anybody that then wants to go back and try 5.5 or 5.45's Delibram Savage to maybe get a chance at that Cerberus multi-person mount.
Yeah, that's going to be really exciting to see. Overall, I'm excited, especially for this. But this, yeah, you still have to wait till 5.55. So hopefully you guys
time to earn your medal back. For any of you that have lost your medal through Delibram attempts, remember Castrum drops a ridiculous amount of it You don't lose rank when you lose medal. You can 0 back out, but you're going to have to get back caught up to progress. So for any of you that want to start that grind, a lot of they're making some big changes here. So during 5.5, we will have a means to increase mount speed in there. Skirmishes and critical engagements will be adjusted for fewer participants. These are adjustments that will take place in 5.5. So it sounded like these would be available on day 1, and then at that end of May, we would add the 5.5 stuff. And so we're going to change the availability of things like Castrum. That's going to be adjusted for people that have had trouble getting into that. And the chances of being selected for duels will now increase on non-selection. So for those of you that aren't hit by a single AoE, you get a chance to be selected for the duel, and then you're not selected. You're now going to have like a hidden modifier that stacks up, so that if you continually not get selected and you're just trying to get an attempt in at those duels, you'll at least kind of be able to work your way up the priority slowly. And then this will Delibrum Savage will be adjusted to allow anywhere between 24 and 48 players. It will not allow you to go in with less than 24 players. Remember that Party Finder was expanded to be able to include 48 people for that. So if you need to find a Discord or whatever to find a group organizing that, it's intense stuff. So that's exciting. Now we have to mention resistance weapons. When you unlock Zadnor in 5.5, this will be the last step of your resistance weapons. Any of you that have not started on that, it is a lot of content to get through, especially for your very first weapon. Since you have the freedom when it comes to substats, these new final things will be slightly better than the current Savage weapons. Historically, the final step of the Relic has been a really great weapon to take into the next expansion. Of course, it gets outclassed at that point, and then it becomes glamour only. Once you have upgraded one of these, the process for upgrading furthers will differ, but the first one they have said is going to be a lot of effort. So definitely expect that. And then they did say, for those of you that are reminded, we were supposed to get an ultimate in 5.5, and that was pushed to 6.1. They did go ahead and show off a screenshot of Dragon Song War, which we knew we were going into, and they said that they did note that the passage to that was wide.
So yeah, be ready, and that's going to be great. And then for those of you who have houses, and unfortunately for those of you who don't, they start showing off some new exterior housing, some really incredibly well-designed housing. I really actually appreciated the artwork. And then some crafting stations and things like that outside. So we were kind of remarking on that, so it's going to be great to see. And this is from different items from the housing design contest as well. One of the cool things, and we're going to jump into this, when we talk about windows, one of the things that people wanted to see is outside their house. Yoshi P has remarked how difficult that actually is technologically. So what they're doing is they're adding in windows that have like animated scenes behind them, so that you end up having kind of a feel that you're looking outside of your house and or apartment. So I think that's going to help bring in some light, bring in some freshness to that. So we kind of see that going on, but I'm not going to go through all of that.
It's a very sci-fi TV show way of solving that. To kind of just put a faux TV screen there.
Big paintings, basically. Widescreen, ultra 4K TVs that mirror reality to a degree. And then finally, they jump us into more FanFest details. Now, Chris and I went through these details specifically on a video here for y'all, but just to kind of hash them.
TLDR.
Yeah, TLDR. Lunar Whale. If you guys are watching on Twitch, when you watch an ad on Twitch up to this point, we're taking that revenue to give away Lunar Whale mounts for the game itself. We still do not have a price, but this is a part of FanFest. Then we have the minions, the Edge, Rydia, and Rosa as different options there as well. No idea on prices. They're going to have lots of activities, lots of orchestrating roles from Pulse, piano, and having a band with 5 songs each. So there's 15 different orchestrating roles that I'm just really excited to see for the songs. And more. If you guys want more information, you can go, of course, check out all this in Reddit's Discord or over on Reddit as well if you want to go specifically find the nitty-gritty details about the songs themselves. More information about how they're going to handle the Digital Fan Fest, what you can expect, especially the keynote, which will cover the kind of the summary of what we've already announced, and then going into more detail, Yoshi P's room, interviews, dev panels, and they're also going to be providing this in English as well as concerts and so much more. Chris, is there anything you want to touch on that I kind of just pushed?
No. We have another video going over in more detail what has been expected in the past and what can be expected this time. So this was all a rehash of things that they had already posted to the event site. So if you'd like that in written form, it's out posted to the event site from them. If you'd like that in video form, it's here on the channel. So we'll just kind of blast through that, but it should be a great time. What's unique is that we'll be able to see those concerts live. There's going to be digital in-game events. So there are aspects of this to try to make up for the fact that it's not physical. It is, of course, free. And so I encourage you to take place. There's some live giveaway events for posting various screenshots to social media. So they're trying to make it as interactive as possible. But, obviously the last year and a half of our lives has changed a lot of that. And so they're just doing their best. There will be a live Q&A and a live letter throughout it. So there's a number of things. We'll be covering it here on the channel. As we build towards 5.5, maintenance will not be 24 hours. So there's not any raid release, no housing release or anything like that. So that does mean that if the servers can come up early, they do come up early for that day. For any of you that are trying to get content clear before work or whatever, wake up as early as you dare. So then they started to talk about merch, and that's about it. That's kind of where we're at.
Lots of good stuff here, guys, to be excited about, and as there are also a lot of the things they couldn't show us on stream because they're already working on the 6.0 stuff with the servers. So there are obviously lots of progress being made in development, and May 15th is going to be a big day. A lot of people in chat were asking about the new job, and it's like this is focusing in on what's happening in the next couple of weeks, and then here in 6 weeks, what is taking us into 6.0. So those are that's the summary. Like that's what we've got. We know we've got the date. We know we've got PS5. I think it's going to be a good time all around because they showed us a lot and they didn't show us really anything, especially when it comes down to the story and what to be expected within the game itself. So that in and of itself is those are my thoughts. Christian, any final thoughts? Anything we want to touch on before we wrap up this epic summary?
No, I'm going to go play Guild Wars today. I play that on Fridays on stream for anybody that wants to see other games. And so I'm going to go get into that. I'm really excited about this. I think it's exciting. Chat's saying that Guild Wars is having some sales today, so maybe that'll encourage some people to kind of take a break. Remember with 5.5, it is a wonderfully fully loaded 2-part patch, but it is meant to cover a ridiculously large amount of time. So, this is supposed to last us till fall. So they're going to do events. They're going to do things to try to make it exciting. But just keep in mind with the pace of this patch, that's not unique to COVID. Like each expansion, the 0.5 patch, it's a hype time. So we want to play a lot, and it's not really that much bigger as far as like for the amount of time and the amount of hype around it. So like you may gap out. So just kind of take your pace through that. Easy to want to binge it because we're all excited, but just as a reminder as we go into this, really enjoy it for everything it is because there isn't more for a while.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. Thanks so much for watching live with us. Thank you for watching this over here on Work to Game. But for Work to Game, my name is Brian.
Hi, Chris.
Thanks so much for watching. Hopefully you have a great day. Hopefully we'll see you on our next one. But until then,
Take care.